I started DJing on flash drives about 5 years ago, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to look for to make sure you get the best performance for your money. But before we start comparing specifications, let's take a minute and talk a little bit about what specifications actually matter. We all know that storage capacity is something that needs to kind of be decided on a case-by-case basis by the individual that's going to be using the drive. So in this video, I want to pay specific attention to read speed and the write speed. So let's just take a second and work out exactly what we need to demand specification-wise from our flash drives to be able to play efficiently on CDJs. So obviously we've got our mixer in the middle here, and then we have our CDJs on either side of the mixer, right? And let's just say we're balling out of control. We got all 4 decks rocking, and everything's hooked together so that we are able to play all of our tracks from one USB in one deck. And of course, we want to be able to play our songs simultaneously on all 4 decks, so we need to calculate exactly how much bandwidth of data we need that one USB drive to provide over the network to give audio to all 4 of the players. And let's also go one step further and consider that we're going to be using 4 WAV audio files. We'll use WAV as the example here because that is the highest resolution file that we can play back on the CDJs. And as a result, they require the most data bandwidth. And each WAV file has a bitrate of 1411 kilobits, small b, per second. So if we multiply these numbers together, we end up with a total bitrate of 5,644 kilobits, lowercase b, per second. However, we need to get to a little bit more useful of a measurement since USB speeds aren't measured in kilobits per second. For example, the USB 2.0 specification is 60 megabytes per second, capital B, and the USB 3.0 spec is 640 megabytes per second, significantly more. Keep in mind though that these are just theoretical speeds and each drive is going to have its own speed that is probably a whole lot slower than this theoretical one. So if we divide this speed by 8, we'll change our bits to bytes and end up with 705.5 kilobytes, capital B, per second. And that is equal to 0.7055 megabytes per second after we just shift that decimal. So as you can see, even in the most demanding scenario that we can invent in our mind, we're only using not even 1 megabyte per second. And so the USB 2.0 specification easily handles the read side of things because remember, this is what we are demanding to be read from one flash drive. So we should be able to confidently say that pretty much any flash drive manufactured in this century should be able to handle the required read speed. So if we look at this little diagram I've drawn here, we store all of our files on the PC, and then we write those files via record box to our USB drive, which is then played back on the CDJ. So with everything considered, we can actually knock out one half of this equation. So as you can see, I've gathered a collection of some of the most popular flash drives from my own personal arsenal that I've used over the past couple of years. And I've thrown in an SD card for good measure just to show that that is also a possibility. And I've decided to conduct 2 separate tests to explore both the theoretical speeds of these and the real world speeds of these by exporting a playlist of, I believe, about 20 tracks from Rekordbox and measuring the amount of time that it takes for each one of these to handle the export. And trust me, having a flash drive that has a really fast write speed can save your whole set in some instances. For example, one time I showed up to a DJ set about 10 minutes before I was supposed to go on and noticed that when I loaded the playlists up on the CDJ, I actually exported to the wrong flash drive and my flash drive was still sitting plugged into my computer at home. And in that 10 minutes, I was able to download the tracks that I needed to get through the show from my own cloud drive, and I was able to export those tracks through Rekordbox to my fast flash drive with time to spare. And it's almost certain that if I didn't have the fast flash drive on me, I wouldn't have been able to play the tunes that I wanted to play. All right, now what you're seeing on the screen is a test that I ran called Crystal Disk Mark. It is a USB flash drive, and I guess you can use it on your hard drive as well, or any disk that's attached to your system. It's a speed test to determine how fast you can read and write with different styles of reading and writing as well. The link to download Crystal Disk Mark is in the description below if you want to test your own flash drive against mine. Starting way over on the left, I included a USB 2.0 drive. It's a little 4 gig verbatim drive, and it actually performed pretty well for a USB 2.0 drive. The one immediately to the right of that is the first one that pops up when you search for USB 3.0 flash drive on Amazon. And I really wanted to test this one because I see a lot of my friends using it, and I just knew that there was something wrong with it because the price was way too low, and the write speed totally reflects that, and the read speed as well. Just keep that in mind when you're buying these flash drives, is if the first result is cheap and seems a little too good to be true, it probably is, and that's the case with this one. Now, the flash drive in the middle, this is the most embarrassing one out of the whole bunch. It's a Kingston Data Traveler. It's a 3.0 drive, but as you can see, the write speed is actually lower than the 2.0 drive on the way left. And the one immediately to the right of that, the blue flash drive, it's actually kind of funny. Kingston names that one the Data Traveler as well. So the naming on these can be a little bit tricky. But as you can see, my blue flash drive here is by far the fastest in both the read speed and the writing speed. This is the flash drive I've been recommending for over 2 years now, and I have not seen a single failure of this drive, and everyone who I've recommended it to has been very happy with the purchase. I personally own about 4 of these in different size configurations. And then way over on the right, just for fun again, I threw in the SD card just to show you that, yeah, the SD card is a quick way to get a really fast flash drive that can be read in the CDJs. So if you're in a pinch and you have an SD card from maybe a DSLR or some other camera or other piece of equipment that takes SD cards, that can be a good way to get a really quick export speed as well. And it's important to keep in mind this test was run with completely freshly formatted FAT32 drives. All the data was erased and we started from a nice clean baseline. And all the drives were tested independently, one at a time, in the same USB port with no other background processes running. But these numbers don't really mean as much as a real-world test. So what I did is I loaded up about 15-20 tracks in a Rekordbox playlist and decided to export that playlist one at a time to each of these memory devices. So on the screen, you will see the time that it takes to export that entire playlist per device. And this is the part in the test where I have to speed up the results, otherwise we may just die of old age. And speed up one more time for good measure. And there we have it. As you can see, our real-world test does not exactly mimic what the numbers may have indicated a little bit earlier, and that's because of the nature of file systems and file writing and reading. Things can change when you're dealing with different size files. It's usually very hard for a drive to write a bunch of small individual files like you're dealing with music and cue points than it is for large continuous files all at once. When these manufacturers are advertising their read and write speeds, they're usually using the fastest file system they possibly can with the largest files that they possibly can. With all that said, of course, there are some people out there who won't necessarily see the value in this extra fast exporting speed, since that's really the only benefit you're getting with a better, more expensive flash drive. But I personally do, and I really enjoy the fact that I can export a playlist in a fraction of the time as it would take on a normal flash drive. The HyperX is, once again, my all-time favorite, and I've included a link down below to buy one if you would like to buy one. And if anyone out there thinks that they have found a better flash drive for the money, I would love to hear it down in the comments so I can check it out, because I am always on the hunt for the best and the greatest when it comes to this stuff. And please do keep in mind, if you're looking at other external SSDs, those are different than flash drives. So external SSDs can get faster read and write speeds, but I wanted to focus on the flash drives that can be formatted to FAT32 and played in the CDJs. That's the whole point of this test. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, make sure to drop a like and a comment down below. And if you would like to see more content like this, make sure you check out my channel and subscribe so you can stay updated in the future. Thanks so much for watching.